Hi everyone. Today we are going to be learning about quotient rule. This is the third property of exponents that we are going to be exploring, and it's a little different than product and power. So, just go right into it. When we are looking at quotient rule, we are going to be looking a little bit into fractions. So imagine I had something like this. Quotient rule, we are looking at variables where there is something in the denominator and something in the numerator. So if I were to expand the top, it would be x times x times x, because x is being multiplied by itself 3 times. And in the denominator, x is being multiplied by itself 2 times, x times x. So now what we can do is I can cross them out. Whatever they have in common at the top, I can cross it off with whatever they have in common in the bottom. 1 to 1. So 1x at the top, 1x at the bottom. 1x at the top, 1x at the bottom. Ooh, that moved. Okay, so that leaves me with only 1x at the top. We can always include an invisible 1, but we don't always have to. So this shows us a brand new rule. Our quotient rule is if I have x to the power of a all over x to the power of b, then I can just subtract it, a minus b. So if you think about what we learned with the product rule, that when you're multiplying, you're adding, it makes sense that when we're dividing, we're subtracting. Let's take a look at some examples. If I had x to the power of 8 all over x to the power of 4, okay, well, I have 8 and 4, so we're just going to do x8 minus x, or 8 minus 4, and our final answer is x to the power of 4. Another example, x to the power of 7 all over x to the power of 3. Again, we're going to subtract 7 minus 3 to get x to the power of 4. Now, let's go ahead and level it up a little bit. What do we think is going to happen if I have something like this? 16x10 over 8x6. Pause here. See if you can think about what we would do a little differently here. One thing that we have to remember is that our coefficients, we are going to treat them the same way we've been treating normal, regular numbers this whole time. We are not subtracting 16 minus 8. We are dividing them. So 16 divided by 8, we're going to do this part first, we get 2. And then we're going to do our exponent rule, 10 minus 6. Only the exponents get the special rules. The coefficients, treat them like normal numbers. So then your final answer will be 2x to the power of 8. So for here, we're going to divide. Here, we're going to subtract. So coefficients, divide them. Exponents, subtract it. Let's try another one. What if we had 15 over 3, x8, x7? Pause and try this one. Same thing we did before. 15 divided by 3, we get 5. And then x8 minus 7 gives us x to the power of 1. But we need to include our 5 too. So 5x1, just like that. Okay, I want to look at a little challenge problem. So another little level up, and this will be the last one we look at. So I want to look at combining some of our other rules with quotient rule. Let's say, for example, I gave you 3x squared y3, all raised to the power of 2. And then I'm going to divide everything by x and y2. So there's a lot going on with this problem. Anytime we have a fraction, we want to make sure, so your first rule is always going to be clean up top and then clean up bottom. So let's go ahead and start with this whole top section right there. I'm going to put a little arrow. Since we're raising everything to a power, we're going to use our power rule. Everything is going to be raised to the power, but only the top, because the parentheses are only for the top part. This becomes 9, x4, y6. And now we're going to clean the bottom, but luckily for us, there's nothing to really do at the bottom. So we're just going to write x, y2. And now we can subtract. For our coefficient, we have 9 and an invisible 1, but 9 divided by 1 is just going to be 9. Now, when you're subtracting your exponents, work on just the x's first and then the y's separately. So looking at the x's, x4 minus that invisible 1, and then y6 minus 2. Your final answer is going to be 9, x3, y4. So, quotient rule simply tells us when you have an exponent of similar base in the numerator and one in the denominator, subtract the exponents. Coefficients, you're just going to divide just like you've always done. And if you have something like number 5, clean up the top part first. And by that I mean if there's product rule, do the product rule. If there's power rule like this one, do the power rule. Clean up the bottom, and then you are going to simplify by subtracting. And that's it for today's video. Go ahead and make sure you check out the other assignments. You have a little IXL check-in, and I'll see you guys on Monday.